To all who listen to this happy pod, welcome. My name is Noah Parker, and this is my World of Wonder, and today I'm joined by my sister Marcy.
Hello. Today we are going to be doing a DCOM rewatch. This week we rewatched The Color of Friendship, which is a story that takes place in 1977 about two girls from opposite sides of the world who come together and change each other's lives. Young white Mari Bach lives in apartheid South Africa with her wealthy family. Piper Dellums, the daughter of a black U.S. congressman in Washington, D.C., prepares to welcome Mari to the U.S. for a semester abroad. Mari is surprised to find her host family is black, and Piper is stunned that Mari is white.
And it was a good movie.
It was a very good movie.
And we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
But as we get started, everyone, I want to, of course, take the time to invite you all to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook by going to either of those platforms, there's three there now, any of those three platforms, and just searching for @NoahParker's World of Wonder. And yeah, there you can find all the shorts and reels that my beautiful wife puts together for us and uploads for me every day so that I can keep up on the demands of being a TikToker, because apparently that's what I am now. But I'm really not. My wife's a TikToker. Yeah. I just happen to be the face.
You're the face of the TikTok.
And that's okay. But without any further ado, let's talk DCOM.
Yeah.
I wrote let's talk DCOMing.
DCOMing.
Because apparently I wanted to be German for the moment. Let's talk DCOMing.
All
right. So this was written by Paris Qualls. And the thing about this story, actually, that I want to point out before we even get on to the rest of the cast and crew is when I was young, I don't think I ever knew that this was based on real life events.
I didn't either.
And even watching it, I just watched it like an hour ago. Not even, probably 30 minutes ago I finished watching it. And I'm like, as I was watching it, I was like, that's a real thing I remember hearing about. And then I just slowly was putting the pieces together, and I was like, wow, am I just dumb or
what is happening? Yeah.
But I think I was questioning it though, because I was like, there's a lot of information in this setting. And so I wasn't sure if it was like this happened, and I don't think this happened, but something similar, something along these lines happened. And I think that's cool. Also, I think that the Dellums actually had several more children
than what they have in the movie.
But they might have been later, but it might have just been easier to write three kids instead of 6. Yeah, I think it was 5 that he has actually.
Yeah, it's easier to cast just 3 of them.
Yeah. So anyway, from the writer, we jump down to our cast.
So first on our cast list, we have Lindsay Hahn, who played Mari Bach.
And I did not read ahead, and I suck at life. But I
think it's Shadiah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Shadiah Simpson played Piper Dellums. Simmons. Where did I get the extra O from?
I don't know.
Oh, the S. Sorry, it's the S that I included in there. It doesn't exist.
You included an S and a P.
I did a lot of things. Sorry, Simmons. I'm so sorry. I suck at reading, dude.
It's all right. I'm not the best either. After Shadiah, we have Carl Lumbly, who played Ron Dellums.
And I'm assuming it's Penny Johnson, but it's cut off. It's got a ellipses. Yeah. So I'm like, is there more here? But I believe it's Penny Johnson who played Roscoe Dellums. And then
and then we have Melanie. Ooh, there's also a hyphen and an ellipse.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We should go grab that off of the old interwebs.
I got the interwebs right here.
I bet. I did not pay that close attention to the fact that those names were cut off.
That's okay. Oh, Penny Johnson Gerald.
Okay, Penny Johnson Gerald played Roscoe.
And then Melanie Nichols King played Flora.
I do remember reading Nichols King when I was taking screenshots. I'm a little confused why it's not in there, but whatever, it's fine.
That's okay.
We got it in the end, and that's what matters, right?
There are a lot more actors in this.
There's so many people listed, but it's like those are the 5.
Those are the 5
people that are
important to this story.
I mean, they're all important.
They're all important, but these are like the main focus.
Yeah, and it's not like And I felt like this was not like Xenon, where like a little bit of everyone is a little bit of the focus. It was like, no, these are the five people that were driving the story. Everything happened between them and a random side character. Like, it was interesting. But regardless, it was directed by Kevin Hooks.
Music by Stanley Clark.
And the cinematography was done by David Harrington. And that's our cast and crew. Yeah. So we kind of want to do something a little bit different because we've been doing these DCOMs for several months now. And we have a habit of basically reciting the screenplay,
the whole movie.
top to bottom. So basically what we have done today is we have each picked 2 or 3 scenes that were our favorites. And we're going to try to talk about them. Yeah. They might be in order. They might not be in order. I say they might. Yeah. The reason I'm not sure if they're going to be is because I feel like
the same, actually.
I'm going to say something and I'm going to be like, oh, wait, but then this happened.
Yeah.
And it was actually before that. But I think my notes here were pretty in order. So if yours are similar to mine, then, or if they're the same, if I know you didn't write anything in here specifically, but that is okay. So the first thing that I took a note of was that when I was watching this as a kid, I swore it took place in present day.
Yeah, I thought it was modern times.
Which is also probably why I didn't realize that it was based on real life events at that point.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it is about. Maybe it was their outfits or whatever. I don't know. Something about Mari and Piper never felt like it was from years ago.
Right. like the only time it resembled the 70s was when they were wearing their bell bottoms and when Mari had the headband around her head. Yeah. That was the only time I was like,
mall montage.
Yeah. The whole mall. That's one of mine. Yeah. I don't know if yours is in here.
It was not, but that's okay. Hold on. I was going to do something. I forgot what it was. Oh, I just remembered. We did not mention when it came out. This movie came out in 2000.
Oh, yes, it came out in 2000.
That's something we usually do. Anyway, second movie of 2000. So, anyway, so yes, it took place in 1977 and indeed was based on real life events.
Yes.
Pretty crazy. I didn't realize that growing up. But like now I know. Like now it was even now watching it.
I was
constantly
obvious.
Reminding myself that it was set in the 70s because it didn't feel that way.
Well, even like when I first got here,
there were things that definitely felt like it was set in the 70s.
Yeah, it was like when I first got here, I was like, this movie was set in the 80s, and you're like 70s. I was like 70s.
Yeah,
even farther back.
Yeah,
that's wild.
It was something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll just kind of brush past that because that was just the first little thing that I noticed that I was like, I did not realize that as a kid. And I guess like because of the two, and the reason I said that as a kid, I think is because of them. The two main characters didn't feel like they were from the 70s. Yeah. Is because even watching it now, like anytime it was just them talking and they were just riffing, like I was like, okay, this is 70s. They are not teenagers from 2000. Right. And there were definitely things going on that I was like, yeah, this was definitely the 70s.
Yeah. There were some.
We've grown past some of this, but like some of this stuff, honestly, some of the stuff in there, I'm like, I can't believe some of this stuff is still happening.
I know.
Like, how is some of this still a problem?
Still a problem.
But then other parts, like, okay, I guess I can just jump in. Like, I don't know. There's a lot to talk about. Yeah. I don't want to talk about too much, but I was intrigued to really realize like how, like, don't get me wrong, things were pretty messed up in the 70s in the US. Yeah. But like South Africa, they were so messed up.
They were very flipped around.
Yeah. Like, and I'm like, I didn't realize that it was worse in South Africa.
I didn't either.
And it kind of, I think it not makes sense. That is not what I want to say, but I guess kind of.
Kind of, but
yeah, very different governments. Like, yeah. I mean, it took our government years to get where they got. It took, you know. But yeah. So anyway, we move past that. To my first favorite scene. Yes. And it was, I didn't remember that it was called back later on, but it was the scene with Flora and Rain and Mari. Sorry, I have to scroll up and read their names because I can't remember the characters' names. Yeah. When they're talking about the bird, who I really should have written down the species of bird that was. But I didn't, so I can't recall it. But the story about the birds who nest in communities, like most birds would just nest with their own eggs and that's it. Yeah. But like this species of birds nests as a community with several different families of birds and they're all different colors. And I was like, that's such a beautiful analogy.
It is.
Oh my gosh, I
She's
loved it.
Yeah, where she's like, it doesn't matter what color you are. We're
Yeah.
all here to take care of each other.
Exactly. Take care of each other.
Yeah.
Nobody fights. Everyone helps each other.
Yep.
And I was like, what a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love these birds. But yeah.
Yeah, I wish I remembered what it was called.
I don't know.
But the whole reason she brought it up was because you said his name's Rain.
Yes.
Yeah, Rain is Mari's little brother. But he like comes running up holding it in. Is it already in the cage? Or is he just holding it?
I think it's already in the cage.
Okay. And he's like, look at this bird I captured. And my heart sank because I was like, oh, he captured it. That poor little bird. And it was very sad to me that he, like, that's how he saw it. Is like, not like, look at this bird I found, but like captured.
Yeah. Right.
She's like,
which is interesting because that means that he pulled it away from its community.
Yeah.
If what I just Googled is correct, it says South African desert, and it's the only one that looks like it's popping up for that. That fit the description, and that is a sociable weaver, and that sounds familiar.
It sounds familiar, yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Weaver sounds.
Which
close
makes
enough.
sense. I mean, that sounds like the most appropriate name I've ever heard for a bird.
Did you just
in my life.
Google like?
I Googled South African colony nesting birds, and I got sociable weavers, and they look similar to the ones in the picture, so or in the movie. So I'm gonna go with it.
Sure, weavers. Everybody
maybe
Google it.
southern masked weaver.
Maybe
Looks more like the one she actually lets go at the end of the movie, but
spoiler.
Well, it's a rewatch podcast. If you guys haven't already watched it, you clearly don't care.
Yeah.
And if you are watching this and you haven't watched it yet, guys, that's what the podcast last week is for. It's to tell you what we're watching this week.
Exactly.
So you can get there
so
before we do.
you can watch it before us because you probably did.
Hopefully, that's what I'm aiming for here, but it's okay. If you haven't watched it, I'm sorry. Pause the podcast right now. Go watch.
Go watch it. It's a great movie.
Oh man. But yeah, so the bird analogy, fantastic. Yeah. Loved it.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you want to talk about next? Is your first favorite scene before or after?
I'm not gonna say it's my favorite.
Well, not favorite scene, but one of your favorite scenes.
One of my top scenes that I want to talk about is when the Bach family is at the restaurant.
Ah, okay, yes.
And when you really see the segregation.
Yeah.
Show, and they're at a restaurant eating dinner, and one of the bus boys is a black boy, and he accidentally, like, someone bumps into him and he drops his bus tub and it splashes food up onto the owner's
I think
pants,
so.
someone's pants, some rich white man's pants, and he starts like yelling at him, and Mari is like, you can tell she's fighting. Yeah, she's uncomfortable. What she's thinking. She's uncomfortable
with it, but she's also like,
and she's like
very clearly aware that like, okay, this is the social convention. This is normal
this
here.
Is
like
what she was raised around, and you can tell that she's fighting, like not doing anything.
Yeah.
And her parents are just like,
put that seed in there so early.
Well, just eat your food. Don't look at that.
I can't whistle right now for some reason. But yeah,
I can't whistle.
They basically just like, let's look over here and look over there. What's that?
Yeah.
Oh my.
And like the mom even gives like a little smirk to the dad, and she's just like, that's the thing that happens. Oh well. And this is also like right after she asks to go abroad or something too. Yeah. So, for some reason both the dads are like, no, we're not having a foreigner in our house. We're not sending you away to live with foreigners. Right. I'm like, why are the dads so against it? Yeah. That's one of my things, but
it was definitely interesting.
Yeah. But because her dad's a police officer in South Africa. So
which the way he was dressed, I thought he was a soldier, but I guess that makes sense for some other countries' police officers. They look like soldiers sometimes. It's fine.
Yeah.
Cool. So then basically his dad finally agrees, and she goes, and see what I think is so interesting, and again it's like we definitely clearly grew up in a different era because she was going to America to live with a congressman for the summer, basically, or for a couple months.
For a semester. So it's like 2 months.
Yeah.
2 or 3 months.
And
well, she gets there before school starts.
Yeah,
though.
I was confused. It seemed like a decent amount of time. Not like a
it's
month
it's
before
like
school starts, but it's like a
before
week or
school.
two. Yeah, this is some time passes.
Yeah. Anyway.
But she's assuming she's going to be living with a white family.
Yeah, because he's a congressman.
And
in her where she grew up, you can't be in a point of power if you are a colored person.
Right.
Person of color.
Which is also interesting because it's like, how much does she really know about the United States? But she wants to go there so bad. Yeah. But then, gosh darn it, Piper knows she's having someone from getting someone.
They
ordered her African.
No, they're hosting
someone from South Africa,
and
she clearly doesn't know anything about South Africa or not enough about South Africa because they just assume that they're getting a black person as well. And I'm like,
which is like,
there's a lot of assuming
back
going on.
then. People did assume Africa meant you were black,
right?
And same thing with Mari is because he's a person of power. She assumed he was white. Yeah. And then their names don't sound like typical race names, like Piper doesn't sound like a typical black person's name.
I wouldn't. I mean,
I
guess in the 70s, maybe not. I don't know.
And the way that they spell Mari, they were saying it Mari.
Yeah.
Assuming that that's how it was pronounced because she's from Africa.
Right.
So there's just a lot of assumptions.
There were a lot of assumptions.
And there was no way to do, like, take a picture and send it over.
Well,
before.
There was.
But
they didn't, and I don't know.
That's true.
They mentioned it specifically.
That's true.
At one
Flora
point.
does mention it.
Yeah.
Because Mari's talking to her about the family. She's like, he's got 2 boys and a girl my age. Yeah. And she's like, did you send a picture? And she's like, why? That's stupid. Yeah. And it's like, maybe
would have been helpful.
They probably should have sent pictures.
Probably a good thing they didn't send pictures because I don't think the story would have ended the way it did if they had. Because they would have been like, actually, I'm just kidding. I don't want to go to America. Yeah. Or it's like, oh, you know what? We actually want a different one.
Yeah. So it's just
Can we exchange our exchange student?
Well, they tried to later, remember?
Later, yeah.
Roscoe, the mom, was like, I called the embassy and they're going to try to find another host family. If not, you'll have to go back. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay. Right. And then, like,
she starts hearing the voice of her dad being like, oh, no,
well, because she called them.
Yeah, because he said it again.
And her dad and her brother had a bet about how long it would take her to call to come back or something like that. Yeah. And that's what I did not like her family. I'm sorry.
No, her family's dumb. Not very encouraging at all.
Flora is the only good person in that.
And it showed at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so basically the next scene I had there was the scene where they get to the airport. It was basically from the airport until they get back home. Mm-hmm. Everything that happens from them picking her up from the airport to getting back to the house. Yeah. And it was not my favorite because I liked what happened. It was my favorite because it was hard to watch. Right. And hard to really be like, man, this is like,
it's still
this
happening.
Was a thing.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, it still is a thing. But I don't think it's as, prudent, I don't think is the word I'm looking for. Not as prominent now as it was in 77, but like it was really hard because like first of all, they're at the airport and she's like assuming that they are the congressman's servants. Yeah. Like, and she's like, oh well, I have 2 bags and they're over on the carousel, go get them. Yeah. I was like, I'll point them out to you or whatever. Yeah. And she's literally just like assuming they're driving her, and she's just like, yeah. She's like, okay, can't wait to meet the white guy. Right. Yeah. Well, like, because when they're there, they see I don't want to say traditional. I just did. Well, their assumption of what their assumption of a African showing up to the airport, and they're like, oh, that must be her. She's wearing not costume, sorry. My words are not coming out properly. Like, the traditional garbs. Yeah. And then the girl walks right past them and they're like, oh, guess awkward. That's not her.
And they're like, maybe she's running late. And then Mari walks right past her because, again, they're not assuming it's a white girl, a blonde white girl. Like, right. And Mari's not assuming it's going to be black people picking her up, so she's just wandering around looking for people.
Yeah. Although I thought it was interesting that she didn't go very far.
I know.
Like, she just kind of walked just far enough that she wasn't right next to them, but not so far that she didn't hear them when they went to the ticket counter and said they were looking for Mari
Bach. Yeah.
And so I was like, that's kind of weird. But I also think it's weird that they had no sign.
Right.
You know,
like if you're picking someone up from the airport and you've never met them.
Right.
Have some sort of sign that you are the ones picking them up.
Yeah. Like they were very clearly making it as crud. I can't think of the words I'm trying to come. They're like in my brain, but they won't come out.
Yeah.
Inconspicuous as possible.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we have no way to know who could possibly be picking you up. And they're like, it's literally just a piece of paper and a Sharpie.
Yep.
Could have fixed that. But
that's it. Yeah.
Then they wouldn't have had the moment at the counter. So, you know, we can't do that.
Yeah.
But no, it was honestly hard to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Was it on their way to the mall or on their way to Congressman, the Congress place?
When? What happened?
With the window washing.
That was on their way to I don't know.
Was that from the house?
I think they were going to the mall.
Okay. I think it was to the mall. Yeah.
I think so.
We'll catch that in a minute then.
Yeah, because she was more comfortable. The reason I know that is because she was like actually talking to them.
Okay.
And she wasn't really talking to them when they were driving to meet the congressman, and when they went home, she was like not talking.
Okay.
But yeah. And then the one thing that I thought was funny, a little bit, was when they get back home and they have all the African music playing and like the African drums, and they're all dressed up and everything, and they walk in and everyone is shook. And I'm like, even the white kid is surprised, and I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious. From what I saw, too, he was part of the only white family in their neighborhood.
Yeah, I think so.
Nearby.
Which is also kind of like, what the heck?
Which is like, good for your family.
Yeah, good for your family. You know? Yes, absolutely.
But also like, huh?
Yeah.
He's like he's the closest to them.
Right.
The closest white family to them, I guess. I can't say in the neighborhood. On that street, maybe.
On that street, who knows?
Because she's like pointing them all out later, and she's like Billy, the goofy kid.
Yeah, the goofy kid.
He lives over there with his family.
Yeah, that's funny. Cool. So yeah, that whole section was a whole thing. But then that was my turn. Your turn.
Yeah.
Hopefully
so
they
mine
happen to sandwich
is
in here.
yeah,
okay,
it does, because it's them basically what I already started with, talking to her about the neighbors, and like she's like, are all the people in this neighborhood congressmen? And she's like a couple of them are, but like he's a doctor, she's a nurse, he's a principal, she's a teacher, you know, all that stuff. And then she mentions Billy's family. I don't remember what his parents do.
I can't remember.
I just remember Billy
his dad works at the Pentagon.
Oh yeah, his dad works at the Pentagon, which I was like, interesting. Anyway, because in a few years, let's hope he's not still there. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's several years.
It's several years.
This is 77. That was like, that 34 years? Not
even 32, 30.
Well, no. It's almost exactly 33 years.
I don't know. I can't do math.
Because it's 77.
Mm-hmm. In 2001.
We said 24 years. Because 7 and 3 is 10.
No, it's 30. It'd be 34.
34 years.
34, yeah.
But
so you were right.
What is weird, because it's like 34 years almost exactly.
Yeah.
Because when later on, when we get there, oh no, my brain shut off. Steven, the guy that they arrested at the beginning. Come on.
I forgot his name.
I literally had it 12 seconds ago. I was literally about to say it. Steven
Starts with a B.
I'm
so sorry.
I can't remember how to pronounce it. Biko?
How's it spelled?
Biko.
I think it is Biko.
Biko. Because he died on September 12th. So that means our setting in this area is September probably to August.
Yeah.
Or not August. September to August. September to October-ish.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyway, that was a total side tangent. That doesn't even matter to the story.
Matter.
But I just
mean,
thought
it does later.
I mean,
but...
it does. Well, I mean, what doesn't matter to the story is the fact that I was relating it to 9/11.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter.
I see. Yeah. Anyway, so then the mall montage happens.
Well, you love that mall montage. I didn't hate the mall montage.
It was so cute because she's like, so like first I think it's when they're driving back from the mall that this happens. I don't know. Did your camera turn on?
Not yet. It's about to though.
I'm just gonna say this and then go into the mall montage because I can't remember where it happens. When they're stopped and
when the window washer.
Yeah.
That they're heading to the mall.
Okay. And he like knocks on the window and it scares Mari, and Roscoe's like, it's okay, he just wants to clean the windows. Mm-hmm. And like nowadays if someone does that, drive away. No, ignore them.
Go away from me.
Do not wash my windows. But like back then that's what they did. And she's like, is that his job? And she's like, it is today.
Right.
And then she's like, oh, does that say it on his paperwork? And then Piper's like, what paperwork?
What?
And she's like, yeah, and that's what they have to do. Black people in Africa have to have a paper that says their name, their job, And she's like, why? She's like, to keep track of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh,
it's so weird, like
so,
just how
like
okay it was,
normal
like,
it was for her.
Well,
she's
that's
like,
just how it is. And like, what's weird to me is they're like, oh, it's for their own safety. And it's like, how is it for their safety? But you're not questioning the fact that you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
that was like,
if it's for their safety, shouldn't you be safe as well?
Shouldn't you have to do that as well? Like,
right?
Yeah.
So messed up.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's just how things were taught.
Yeah. That's just that's what she grew up with. That's what she knows.
Exactly.
And being in America, she's learning the complete opposite, and it's throwing her off, kind of.
Right. It's like, interestingly enough, people are people. How about that?
Imagine that.
What a concept.
Yeah. But then it gets into the mall montage, which is one of my favorite parts.
It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun to watch. Don't lie.
It like just starts her like looking, and she pulls up. Mari grabs like a traditional garb, I guess. It's what it looks like to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
kinda. And
Piper like pulls her into the dressing room and like closes it and like holds the door, and she's like hee hee hee.
Yeah.
And then they go on this whole montage, and I'm like, that's adorable. That's when I knew it was the set. That's when I knew for sure. Oh, this is the 70s.
Yeah,
because of the clothes,
all the outfits they wore with the bell bottoms and the platforms
and like the platform
and all that
shoes.
stuff.
And I was like,
yeah, this is 70s for sure.
Yeah, and then when they're outside at the restaurant,
the ice cream parlor. Oh my gosh.
the quartet, the barbershop quartet was one of my favorite. I was like,
I thought it was cool that it was there, but I was like, this is the worst quartet I've ever heard in my life.
They weren't great.
Maybe not the worst, but
and like
one
of them has like, I don't know if you'll know who this is. His name's Johnny Ray. He was a singer back in vaudeville, but when he would sustain a note to get his vibrato, he would wiggle his jaw.
Ooh.
So it would be like
weird.
But
okay.
Anyway.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The only thing, my thing was actually a little bit before that, but it's okay. It doesn't really matter. Oh, but I wanted to say something quickly about the mall at the ice cream parlor.
Yes.
Because they're eating their sundaes and they're like pretty much almost done with them. And then they bring out a cake. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hold on, you guys are going to eat the sundaes and the cake? Oh, but actually, there's another part in that sequence that we should talk about, because it was another full circle moment. The first full circle moment.
Oh, yeah.
When there's another black server there.
Yeah.
And he bumps into
someone or trips on something.
And he spills ice cream on a white patron. Mm-hmm. And like Mari's mind goes boom, flashback straight to the restaurant when that happened. And the one guy tripped and they kicked him.
Yeah. And she says out loud, she's like, don't hit him. Don't hit him. Yeah.
And then he's like, no, basically like, no, dude, don't even worry. Like,
he's like,
he
so
wasn't
sorry.
as chill as this. Like the guy who got the ice cream spilled on wasn't
Yeah.
as chill as this, but he's like, dude, don't even worry about it. Just get me another sundae because this thing is delicious.
Right. He's like, I'm so sorry about that. And like, he's trying to wipe it off, and he's like, no. He's like, no. And then he's like, can I get you anything? He's like, yeah. And a chocolate sundae, because this is delicious.
Yeah. And I was like, oh,
and
okay,
I was like,
see, that's the first, well, that's probably not the first, but it's like probably the 13th seed that has gone into Mari's mind that is going to really like,
that's like changing
her.
Yeah.
And getting her to realize that everything she's been taught back home is
not
terrible.
Is not right.
Well, maybe not everything, but
most things.
Everything to do with race that she's been taught at home is completely backwards and wrong. And so I liked that end part of the sequence. I liked how that started tying back into the beginning of the movie. But before she gets all comfy wumpy with them and she's upstairs, she's like on a hunger strike basically. She's locked herself in Piper's room.
I see you scrolling for the names.
I cannot remember names.
It's okay.
But she's locked herself in Piper's room and they get her food. And I swore when I was a kid that was McDonald's. Yeah. But
I thought it was too.
I think now that I looked back, I'm thinking the reason I thought it was McDonald's is because the cup had that like, I always associate it with 90s. Apparently it was been around since before then, but that like 90s McDonald's water cup print. Yes. It's like that teal and blue design.
Yeah, like the wiggly.
And I always associated that with McDonald's. So I think that's probably why I thought it was McDonald's, but I was so shook when I was watching it today and I was like, it's not McDonald's. It threw me so bad. It was annoying, but it was also kind of funny.
That's true. And like how she picks the lock with her bobby pin.
Yeah. And she's like, I've locked myself out of this room enough times to know how to get back in.
And I was like,
how come you didn't do this like an hour ago?
Like a long time ago. Like when she first went in there.
Whoa, weird, but okay.
Okay.
This is like it's like the second day that she's there when she finally unlocks the door.
Yeah.
If not the third day. Like,
it's probably just the second day.
It's kind of confusing because she calls home what I thought was at the end of the first night, but they say she's been gone for 2 days. Now, granted, she is flying from South Africa to Washington, D.C. That's a long flight.
Yeah, it probably was.
I guess
2 days because it's like morning their time.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I guess it would be like 2 days for them, but only 1 day passed for Mari.
Only one full day. I don't know.
1 daylight cycle passed for Mari.
Yeah. But that's when her dad was like, how much time do I have before, or that's when they're talking about the bet that they have. Yeah. And she's like, no, I just wanted to call and tell you that it's great.
Right.
Can't wait to tell you everything later.
Yeah. There's another part that was there's towards the end, not quite at the end, but like maybe a middle adjacent end of the middle. Where they're talking about words that they use in her hometown, or in her country to describe
it's
black people.
It's after the mall sequence because she's like, are these shoes cute enough for like first day, or like are they like second day? Don't care if they get scuffed. And I was like, girl, I felt that.
She's like, you're going to school with me tomorrow, and she's like, I'm going to your school because of that, and she's like, I can't remember what the word is. But there's like a word that means like just generally black people, and then there's a word that means like the N word, and it's like, But then I was like, the thing that caught me very off guard, like super, like I was like, what? Was the fact that this was a Disney Channel original movie. So this means it was on Disney Channel, not
in 2000,
not ABC, not ABC Family, Freeform, whatever.
Yeah.
They dropped the N word. Hard N-word like 3 times in a matter of 5 seconds. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I understand that like we're telling a story, right? But holy crap. Yeah. You really just dropped those. Oh my gosh. I was not prepared for it mentally.
Yeah. Because Piper says it first. Well, because
she's like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah. She's like, does that mean N-word? And she's like, no, this means N-word. Yeah. This means it. And I was like,
it's funny because I got caught off guard because Piper said it. Yeah. And then Mari said it, and I was like, hold on.
Hold on.
Stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then
Yeah.
I don't know if, I think they said it one more time after that, but I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I can't.
It just shook me. That was all. That
Yeah.
was it. Like, I understand, like, yeah, we're telling a story, like,
Mm-hmm.
and
this
honestly,
was part of the story.
yeah,
Like,
it's one of those things where, like, in storytelling, like, this is one of those moments where I'm like, it's not acceptable to say it,
right.
but you know,
But
what am I trying to get
to
at?
move the story along, like, this is
it
what
is a piece period or
Yes.
period piece.
yeah.
There we go. Piece. Period piece.
Yes.
And that is what would have been said.
Yeah, that's
That
how
is
it
what
would have
would
been
have happened.
said. It wouldn't, like, because to Mari, she's like, well, yeah,
That's
this
just
is
yeah.
what we call you. That's what it is.
Right.
And like Piper was like, that's an offensive word to us.
Right.
Like, why do you keep saying that? And she's like, no, you're being silly.
Right.
We're like,
They're
ugh.
like, yeah, yikes. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
And then I liked that. So that scene leads into them going to bed, and then basically she has a conversation. Ron, Roscoe, and Piper.
Yes.
Are all in. I guess it'd
Probably
be
the parents' room.
Ron and
Yeah.
Ron and Roscoe's bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just kind of generally talking, and that's when Piper says something about, oh, she called me, or she said this.
She said this means this,
And then she called me either this or this, and I can't remember. And he got mad because he thought she said the bad one.
Yeah. And then she's like, no. This is the bad one. This is the good one. She said she would never call me the bad one.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay.
And then moments later, she goes downstairs to, Mari goes downstairs after they all go to bed.
Yeah.
Mari goes downstairs to Snoop.
She probably can't. She probably can't sleep. You know.
I guess.
So she's.
Yeah. So she finds a book called Roots,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when Ron comes down, and is basically like, you should read that book. It really shaped like how Americans view slavery nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I'm gonna read it, and she's basically like, I'm sorry that I made you think that I called you guys this bad word.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you heard that.
You heard that. She's like, well, you're not quiet.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's no door on the guest bedroom.
Right.
That's what it looked like.
It's just a room.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I really liked that was like the first point for both of them, because he's been super skeptical about her being in the house at all.
Yeah.
And she was like uncomfortable with him because he's a big, scary man.
Yeah.
Kind of the way he has acted
presented
towards her
himself.
since
Yeah.
they met each other.
Yeah.
She's like kind of been afraid of him because.
Yeah. Which
like,
honestly.
Yeah.
Black or white, if you act like that to me, I'm gonna be scared of you too.
If you come at me that hard,
I'd be like,
I'm
so sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, I liked seeing the shift in both of their eyes, and what I thought was really funny is he's like, being late or falling asleep on your first day of class is looked upon poorly in the United States. I should know. I've done it. I'm like, yeah.
Yes.
Let's have some rapport here, not just make it scary. That was awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
And then I don't know. It was hard to pick like favorite scenes.
I know.
You know?
There's so
Like,
much.
I don't know. Going into the school, probably, which is right after this, ironically, when they're like, she's like walking in, she's like, okay, there are different colored people here. It's not just one color. Like, she was thinking as she was going to a black school.
Right.
And she's like, okay, I'm not the only one.
Right. Until she gets in line.
Until she gets
for
in
the
line,
transfers and the exchange students.
Yes. Yeah. And she accidentally bumps into what I'm assuming is the quarterback. That's the persona he gives off.
Something
there.
like that. Yeah, probably.
He's wearing a Letterman jacket and he's big. I don't know.
And he plays football. We know that he plays football.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
They don't actually say. He barely says anything in this encounter. Like, she bumps into him and he drops his books, and then she's like looking at him like, please don't hit me, basically.
Right.
Because he's just staring at her stone face.
Right.
And she like hands him his books and he's like, you're supposed to say I'm sorry. And she's like, And then Piper runs up and she's like, she did.
Yeah.
And he's like, I must not have heard it.
Right. And he's like, oh, my bad. I guess I didn't hear it.
She's like, go away.
Yeah.
She mentions
but she does
wearing
say
a
something
helmet.
about she
Yeah.
does say something about those football players. She's like, don't let the football players intimidate you. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm pretty sure he's a football player. Anyway, that's
Maybe not quarterback, but he's a football player.
definitely
at the
football
very
player.
least. Yeah.
The way he doesn't move makes me think linesman.
I don't know enough about football.
But she's also not. She's a pretty tiny chick, so like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, she's very small. He's very big, and I was just like, I'd be scared too. It's okay.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, what else do you want to say there? Was that it?
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is the last note I took, and then we're just gonna kind of get to the end and we'll wrap up real quick.
Yeah.
But the only other thing there's several other things that I loved. I loved the end when it wraps up, and it basically wraps up on the two stories.
Yeah.
Are them Mari and Ron retelling the story of the birds that Flora told at the beginning.
Yeah.
But one of the things I thought was super funny is when Piper is like, do you want to go see she says Freaky Friday is playing at the movies.
Yeah.
Do you want to go? Right? And I sit there and I just start laughing. And Adriana's like, what's so funny? And I was like, well, and I type Freaky Friday on my computer, and I'm like, the movie with with Lindsay Lohan and
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. I was gonna say Jeanette McCurdy, but I was like, that's
very
the
wrong.
syllables are similar, but it's not the right name. Jamie Lee Curtis. And I'm like, this is what you think when you hear Freaky Friday, right? And she's like, yeah. And I go and I type Freaky Friday 1976, and I'm like, this is the movie they're
going to see. Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny because like,
it's not the first one think of.
I'm like watching this today. Okay, so Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan came out in 2003.
Yeah.
This movie came out in 2000.
Yeah.
So if you watched this movie when it was brand new, you were probably like not even thinking twice about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Now
if you watch this movie 4 years later,
yeah,
you would hear Freaky Friday and you would probably not think of the one from 76.
Yeah. You'd probably think of the new one.
Yeah.
And there's a third one.
There's a third one that came out in 2020, I believe.
It was like 2019 or 2020. I can't remember. But even more recent than 2003.
Was it 2023? Was it literally just last year?
Really?
No.
That can't be right. Are there 4?
No, there's only... hold on. Hold, please. Was it 2019? 2018? It was 2018. I could have swore it was longer ago than that. But anyway, so now you have 3 different Freaky Fridays to contend with.
Yeah.
But that's where knowing that the film came out in 1977,
or
this film takes place in 1977 helps.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
But I don't know, my weird brain. I think it's funny that I instantly caught on to that. But it's also weird that I knew that Freaky Friday, the OG one, came out in 76.
Yeah.
I don't know why I knew that, but
I knew it came out in the 70s. I just didn't know when.
Yeah.
In the 70s.
I don't know how or why, but I knew what year it came out. I knew that it was relevant because it was still in theaters because it just came out. I was going
to say, knowing that this movie takes place in 77 makes sense that it would be either just came out in 77 or it came out the year before.
Yeah. But
because movies played longer back then.
Yes. And if you guys want to watch the Freaky Friday I'm talking about, it's on Disney Plus, along with the one with Jamie Lee Curtis and
the new one.
Kim Lindsay Lohan.
It's been a long day. It's okay.
Yeah. And then the other one, the new one with the other 2 people, the musical one. I haven't watched the musical all the way through.
I haven't watched it.
Can't.
Yeah.
Watch the first couple minutes and I'm like, oh, it's a musical.
Boop. Is it really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't love it. It's not great.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they did a good job with the 2003 one, and I think we should have left it alone.
I think we should have left it alone.
But apparently Disney has confirmed a sequel to Freaky Friday the musical. So
interesting.
No. The one with it's actually Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. They've started filming a new Freaky Friday with them.
Okay.
It's not a sequel to the musical. It's a sequel to the 2003.
2003.
Yes. That's a thing, actually. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So that was just thinking about it, and I had a flash of a picture that I saw on Instagram of Jamie Lee Curtis and on a trailer, sitting on a staircase on a trailer. The door behind her says Lindsay Lohan, and sitting next to her is Lindsay Lohan in front of a trailer with the door behind her that says Jamie Lee Curtis.
Okay.
And then it says Freaky Friday somewhere on there.
Somewhere on there.
Yeah.
We just assume those two together.
Anyway, long story short, that's not related to this rewatch at all. But
it's kind of related, but
so
not.
yeah, the movie, and then
So then
skip along here. We'll kind of hop skip. Get to the end.
We'll go to the end. So when they go to the so it's like an African festival, I think. And that's when Ron retells the story, and he's like, I have a new friend who's from South Africa and told me this story, and she's like, oh, he likes me now.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to go back and just touch a little bit before that.
Is it about the flag? Go ahead.
No, Stephen Biko.
Yes.
Ends up dying.
Yes.
And they basically, the embassy for South Africa goes to the Dellum's house and takes Mari away because they're like, okay, basically, like, this guy's dead now. The story you hear from their perspective is he killed himself in jail. Yeah. But the real life story, OG, like real true life story, is the police beat him to death, basically. Yeah. And they tried to cover it up as a suicide. But they're like, everyone's going to flip their lid, so we need to get you out of this house because if they come back and see you, they might hurt you. Yeah. And he was like, first of all, you guys are the ones hurting people, but whatever. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so they take him and then bada. Yeah. That needed to be covered.
And then, and then Ron goes to the embassy and he's like, if you take her away, what message is that sending?
Right. Like, this looks worse on you now, by the way, guys, just so you know.
And then her and Mari and Piper end up getting into a fight over it because Mari's only hearing the South African side and Piper's like, that's not what happened. Yeah. And that's when Mari realizes maybe my dad is a bad guy. Right. At that point. And so then that's when that's when she tells him the story, tells Ron the story. Yeah. About the bird. And then when they're at the African festival, he's making a speech about the bird as well. Yeah. And then it's literally like the end of that speech is the montage of her going home.
Yeah, basically. And then she gets back home, and the first thing she does is run up to
like
Flora.
They barely stop the car, and she's out of the car running.
And I got so tripped up because I forgot that they're in Africa and South Africa, where the cars are in Europe, so they're on the right side. Yeah. And I was so confused when she got out, and I was like, why is she driving? She's 14.
Yeah. And I was like, the rules are different in South Africa.
Yeah, which they might be, but anyway, that tripped me up. But she runs up and gives Flora a huge hug because that time over there made her realize, like, first of all, that Flora is more than just their maid. Yeah. And she's a person with feelings. Right. And she is wearing a vest, and she flips the vest open to reveal that she has sewn the
black South African
freedom flag, yes, into her vest. Yeah. And I thought it was going to be a thing that was addressed at some point, but she goes inside and finds her brother's bird,
the weaver,
and gets it out of the cage. But it's funny because she looks at it in the cage, and then the camera pans out and lifts up so you can't see the bottom half of the cage. And I'm like, they literally did that because she is not grabbing that bird out of the cage. Someone else is giving that bird to her. Yeah. And they needed to make sure that you couldn't see. So, and then it literally ends with her grabbing the bird and running outside and just letting it go.
Freeing it.
Yeah. To get back to its colony, hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully they didn't get
I'm
hit
sure
by an airplane or something.
There's two flights a week, her dad said. There's 2 flights a week.
Oh, okay.
From America to South Africa, from South Africa to America. There's 2 flights a week.
Well, then that plane's already there. So.
The plane's already there. The bird is fine.
It's all good to go.
Went back to its colony.
There's no other planes in South Africa, just the one that takes you to America and back.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the only plane. Yeah. As for credit music, dug it.
I thought it was really good.
It literally, I was literally sitting there because she was sitting right next to me. She was sitting next to me as I finished the movie. Yeah. And I was literally sitting there. You probably didn't. I didn't say it out loud, but I was literally like, "This is giving such Animal Kingdom vibes right now." That I mean, first of all, I'm here for it anyway, but it's making me think of Animal Kingdom. So I might just start playing their credit song around the house randomly.
Go for it.
Made me happy.
Send it to me so I can play it in my house. I
love me some Animal Kingdom, guys. But yeah, that was The Color of Friendship, and I think we did a really good job of getting through that faster than we normally do. We're only at 53 minutes, and there's like 2 minutes in there that we aren't using. So
and we hit all the points that matter.
We need to keep it up. Keep doing that. I thought we were going to be closer to 30 minutes, but I think
it's virtually impossible for us to be less than 45 minutes.
I mean, it's an hour and the movie was an hour and 23 minutes, so like there's only so much you could do.
We would have to spend 30 seconds on each topic.
If we didn't tangent at all, maybe.
If we didn't go off about the whole Freaky Friday thing.
Yeah, that might have saved us like 5 whole minutes.
The mall montage,
you know. Could have saved time, but
that's okay. That's why we do this.
Yeah. So, first question that we always ask, how did it hold up?
I think it held up really well.
I think so too, and one of the main reasons I think it did hold up so well is first because it was already set in years past. Yeah. So like it's really easy for that kind of thing to hold up, I think, when you're not comparing it to today because you know you don't need to because it's supposed to be 1977. Right. As opposed to like Horse Sense. Right. Which is like it doesn't tell you what year it's set in. So you just
assume that it's 99 because that's when it was filmed.
But your brain's also like subconsciously comparing it to modern day. Right. But in 77, you know that this is a story taking place in 77. So you kind of just like, whatever. That was cool back then, I guess.
And I think also because it's based on a true story.
Yes.
That it holds up.
True events.
Real
life events. Not. Yeah. It's annoying that there's a difference there, but there's a slight difference there.
Yeah. Because it's just like the Dellums family was part of the because it says in the end credits in 1986 the first free voting was it freedom for voting in
I believe so.
Apartheid South Africa took place in 1986 and the Dellums family was there.
They were physically
there for it. Where it took place in 94. The bill was passed in 86 and the first freedom to vote was in 1994. Yes. And they were there. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get this pulled up fast enough to like read verbatim what the end credits say. I was going to try to pull them up. I should have just done it to begin with. Actually, maybe I can get it real quick.
That's okay.
Okay. So in 1986, the anti-apartheid bill, co-sponsored by Congressman Ronald V. Dellums, was passed by the House of Representatives. So that was U.S. I think related specifically. The first free elections in the history of South Africa took place in April of 1994, and the Dellum family was present, as Marcy said. I just wanted to have that. What it said. Accurate information. So
thank you.
And so last question of the day, and then we're gonna get going out of here because I need a nap. Yeah. Rating out of 5 stars. How would you rate this one?
I would give it 5 out of 5.
I'd give it 5 out of 5 as well. I enjoyed the story. It was a super. It's weird because it's a Disney Channel original movie, but it's a history.
But it's a
piece. It gives you a lot of information about the past, especially in South Africa that you didn't know you needed.
You didn't know. Yeah.
And I really appreciate it, and it was a good movie. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, the storytelling.
Except for the beginning where it was hard to watch because you're like, man, this is like some mad prejudice.
But like watching them come together.
Yeah, that was
and
beautiful.
Like being like, no, we can coexist together. Like, this shouldn't be a thing. And like, there's a whole part where Mari says, she's like, Piper can't come visit me.
Yeah, and she's like, I would give anything in the world to change that,
and I would do anything to change it. And
I wonder.
This is when she's outside and like,
right before she tells the bird story.
Right before she tells the bird story, and he's like, you can't control what your government does.
Yeah, but you
And
can
she's
control
like,
what you do.
Yeah, she's like, it's not the government. Like, she's like, it's pretty much my dad
Yeah,
wouldn't allow her to come here.
but it's a result of the government.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it
It
I mean,
is.
yes, your
Yeah.
dad is a government official, really. So
Right.
yes, it is
So,
the government.
yeah. Yeah. And then like when she shows her vest with the flag in, I was like, she can never let her dad see that.
Yeah, basically.
Like she has to
At
hide
least
that from
until
her dad
1994.
until, yeah.
Was it 20 years later?
Yeah.
Almost
20 years later.
crazy.
So she would have been in her 30s,
Right.
so.
And that is assuming she didn't pack up and move to America the next year.
Right. Like
I wonder if there's any information on Mari.
on Mari.
If she was, assuming that Mari was a real person.
Right.
Because, like I said, the events it's based on true events, but
Right.
it doesn't mean that
Doesn't
this is
necessarily
what
mean-
happened.
Yeah.
But
well, I'll look into it.
yeah, I should have looked into it before
'Cause-
we started, because it kind of doesn't matter after
It
this.
doesn't matter after this, but it's
Unless
good
at
to,
the,
it's
at the
good
top
to know
of next
later,
next podcast, next
Yeah.
DCOM podcast, we want to
Yeah.
talk about it a little bit. But
Yeah.
regardless, next week, guys, I think that was it. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Next week it's a free form podcast, I think. So nothing is planned as of right now for what we're doing next week, I don't think.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah. But that's typical for the third Friday of the month.
Yeah.
Podcast. We've actually already had, this is the third podcast so far this month, and it should only be the second one. But that's because the one that I did with Mom that was supposed to be the fourth Friday got delayed. It was supposed to come out on Sunday the 30th. But I had some major technical issues, and it got delayed to Tuesday.
Okay.
That being said, that Tuesday podcast had 10 views in it within an hour and a half of it being uploaded.
Hey, way to go.
So after the season break in August and September, we might be moving the podcast to Tuesdays. Well, until we decide what we're doing next time, guys, let the wonder take hold.